We got
Productive,
hooked on.
maybe, maybe not.
Sorry that we got hooked on like Republican socialism
Like
for a
in
long
treeism.
time.
Yeah.
It's not something I usually
No, it's
advocate
okay.
for.
Yeah, it was kind of out of the blue, but no, it's no big deal. We usually just kind of talk about a lot of different things, you know.
Hmm.
I try to focus, or at least I feel like my focus on this is like to promote the idea of building a simple, call it whatever the fuck, a manifesto, but around what's happening with coronavirus that everybody can get behind, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, because even like Bernie Sanders, like he's just fucking arguing to try to get the $1,200 check, and that's just not going to be enough for to get us through this mess, you know, this
No.
fucking nightmare. Uh,
Like, yeah. Like, I. I mean, at this point, like, even regardless of what they pass right now for in terms of like monetary relief, like people
mhm,
now owe like 12 months of rent that they aren't going to be able to pay. No one has that
mhm,
much amount of money.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
Like
Man, I thought I
they
was
still
leaving.
owe that rent. Like it's insane.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. Like most people, like if you live in a city like Seattle or LA or New York, you can't even wipe your ass on $1,200 a month if you have a whole family.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah. So yeah, it's bad. We're in a very dire situation. And I just feel like if these economic conditions created by coronavirus aren't enough for the left to take advantage of,
Hmm.
then I don't know what the any sort of leftist project looks like moving forward, you know? Like
Yeah.
I have a hard time understanding how we're going to be successful at anything if this opportunity right here we aren't able, like if we're not able to make that into you know, what it should be, basically.
Yeah, and I mean this is partly why at the beginning of when we started talking, I was talking about the impending homelessness crisis because like I think whether we want it to like be a revolutionary thing or not, it's going to be that. Like you can't have 13% of the entire population going homeless all of a sudden and not
Right.
have a response to that. Like it's a
Yeah.
time it like you just can't like if you don't do anything about it what you're looking at is like I mean like entire like I guess like the favela situation almost in Brazil. You're looking at just these independent communities springing up where like law has no sway, like where people are struggling to survive and dying and turning to gangs for like subsistence living. Um,
You're basically like explaining cyberpunk.
I mean, yeah. I mean, basically, and I've been saying this for a while. Like, we live in a cyberpunk world with none of the benefits of like a cyberpunk world. We don't have the cool like robot arms. We don't have the cool like like I don't know flying cars. Like, what no, we don't have any of this cool shit. We just have capitalism, and it sucks.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I mean I'm a bit hopeful that the failures of a Biden administration are going to radicalize people to the left along with whatever advocacy we have out there because I think there's a lot of like hunger for like lefty content. Like I've only been streaming for like 2 months and like I broke 1K, like
Right.
I'm doing pretty good. I just actually just now I hit 1100 people. Um
Yeah. Well, I've been saying this a lot lately, is that like everybody that's like, we need more people to get online and make content if you're left.
mhm.
And we need leftists who hang out in these streams to like signal boost all of them like crazy. Because I think one of the coolest and like one of the most awesome things that we can be doing right now is like building communities. Because like if you really want to grow a movement and you have that, like we have an opportunity right now because a lot of people just like they want to feel welcome. You know, the alt-right fucking does this. They go into like gaming communities and they make people feel welcome. They make
Hmm.
like young kids who are impressionable, like they're still forming their political opinions and shit like that. And yeah, I think what like one of the biggest things that as like content creators, podcasters, streamers can be doing is building communities that are welcoming of other people, and then we can all encourage people to advocate for the values that we're talking about. The right has successfully been able to do this with a lot of people.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
like I did a segment about this a while back, but I think that like we need to be reaching out to like communities that we find maybe like odious to an extent. Like, I know a lot of people look down on like the incel community, for example, but like incels, I think, should make some of the best socialists out there because socialism actually solves all of the problems that incels have. You know, it reconnects them with their communities. It reduces their alienation. It solves a lot of the issues when it comes to them not having free time to go out and socialize. Like all of these things help people to get reconnected back into society, and I think that that's a really fantastic thing. And it's something that we need to make clear and offer to these people. We need to offer them these communities where they can heal and grow and learn, and by doing those things, come, heal, like become people who can go out there and do the same. For
yeah,
others.
yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, I do think it's working actually. I've talked about how like whether you like Hassan or not,
Hmm.
what he's been able to do with his channel is nothing short of a fucking miracle. To go from like being 1,000 viewer Andy to being like almost the most popular fucking streamer on the entire platform. Um, and you're basically like a communist. The dude fucking said America deserved 9/11. You know what I'm saying? And he's got a huge community of people, and not to say that some of it isn't toxic. I'm sure there's some toxicity and stuff, but like this is what I'm talking about. Like you've got a lot of probably really young kids that are they could be hanging out in other channels where they encourage like not being political, but at the same time it's okay to like spam the N word because you're just being edgy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
uh and so yeah, they could be hanging out in those kind of and I feel like more leftist content creators should be out there. This is why I'm proudly a fucking communist, and I think maybe why I took such offense by like the suggestion to not be open about what we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's part of it. There is a line, I think, I guess you could go, you could argue,
Hmm.
but in a sense, like a lot of people, especially on the platforms that we're broadcasting on, YouTube and Twitch, like people are looking for edgy content in a sense, and let's be fucking real about it. Just calling yourself communist in America is fucking edgy. People are like, what? Shut the
Yup.
fuck, like it catches your eye. People, I can't even tell you how many people come into my stream all the time that are like, wait, are you just being ironic that you said Antifa is cool in your title? You know what I mean? It's like, no, Antifa fucking rocks. uh and so like yeah, I think building communities is important, and it's definitely one thing that we're getting better at on the left. uh
Yeah, I mean, like,
we're a little behind.
I mean, the Nazis kind of beat us to the punch, really. Like,
Hmm.
they they have been tapping into these communities, these alienated folks, for a very, very long time, and I think that in order to properly combat Nazis, we need to get into those places too, and get to them before Nazis do.
Yep.
Um, and
Yeah,
that
you're right.
and this is why I think that, like, yeah, like Steve Bannon knew about this stuff, and Steve Bannon's like a fucking boomer with like who is like hiding out calling for like the beheadings of like uh doctors. So like I think that
Yeah.
socialists can give people a better outlet, a more constructive outlet that accurately points to the problems of society and gives people a way to fix these things.
Yeah.
And like
Well, and
that.
and
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and that to me, I think that's one of the big values of like a Hassan or like a Vosh. I'm not as familiar with your content, but you as well. Like, just being outright like, yeah, I'm a lefty, and I'm gonna be a bit edgy. I'm
How
gonna
dare you
use.
not know about my content? What the? No, I'm kidding.
I'm
I'm so
gonna
offended that people know Vosh and Hassan and they don't know me.
look. I'm not. I'm in the same boat. I'm gonna be bigger than Hassan someday. Okay, so uh,
There you go.
yeah, exactly.
I just think, I think gamers rise up, dude. The
Exactly.
revolution, the revolution is young people. It's not fucking. It's not boomers. You know.
Oh yeah.
We can win. We can win boomers over to our side. Uh, I do believe. There's plenty of working class people around the country that, aren't complete fucking lunatics like these rampant Trump supporters.
Yeah, man. Whew. Yeah,
What
I
do you
mean,
think is going to actually happen with the GOP? Like the GOP is not like they've always been bad, right? Republican Party's always been horrible.
mhm.
Democrat Party's always been horrible, but like obviously very visibly worse the Republican Party. But they're not going to be the same after Trump.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
we're not even going to have an after Trump, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Because like I mean they're out there. I'm watching it right now on my it's not on the stream, but I'm watching their fucking Proud Boys rioting in DC right now, and
Yeah.
they're out there screaming like dismantle the GOP and stuff today. So it's like, what is even going to happen with the Republican Party moving forward?
I mean, I've been talking with a lot of people about this, and like the best insights I've gotten have been from people who actually like study cults. Because like at this point, like it has been so hitched on his like personality and him specifically that
Mm-hmm.
like the GOP is gonna not gonna be able to like decouple themselves from him until he dies, and at that point, like I don't know if it becomes like a dynasty thing, like uh, Donald Trump Jr. becomes the next like heir apparent of this crazy factory, or if it just like dissolves because at a certain point, like this bubble of unreality that they live in can't sustain itself. Like they
Right.
fundamentally live in a completely different reality where like their reality is like, oh yeah, the United States is on the brink of civil war, we're gonna secede, Texas is gonna secede from the Union, it's gonna happen, guys. Like that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Like it's this isn't what is gonna happen in this scenario.
Yeah.
So
I'm like
like
legitimately worried about the political violence that is going to happen though. Like because we're not going to have secession and we're not going to have a civil war, but there's a lot of really fucking angry people out there that are actually fascists. And there are people who are following them, following their lead. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it's pretty fucking scary. And that's the thing that I worry about so much, and what I think is so dangerous about like what Trump is doing right now. It's so fucking terrible, because it's just like people are going to die. Like they're literally out there creating Timothy McVeigh's and shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like undeniably, like one of the big things is like I don't think that we're going to be able to get out of this rut of terrorism or this um like this grave that the right has been digging for itself. Like
Hmm.
we're going to be getting terrorist attacks. Like historically what we've seen is that when the left is in power, you know, terrorists on the right, far right extremists, tend to recruit more, and I think that that is going to skyrocket when Trump is gone. Um, and I think that as soon as soon as he's gone, we're gonna start seeing like reality sink in for these people, and they're going to be infuriated. Like they're already furious, but like I don't think I think so many of them are still clinging on to like this idea, like, oh, he's the chosen one. He's going to, he's gonna save all those kids.
Yeah.
He's gonna stop the Hillary Clinton blood libel cult. Um, And that when that doesn't materialize, they're going to be really mad, but they're not going to be mad at Donald Trump. They're going to be mad at the Democrats for cheating so hard that they won, but somehow didn't win the Senate. But whatever. And when that happens, then we're gonna get like actual terrorist attacks because, like, again, for like decades we've known that far right extremism is like the most like dangerous thing to the United States, and that's not me as a lefty saying that. That's the fucking FBI.
Yeah, I mean, right now I actually did put on these fucking Proud Boy riders. So now if you're watching the stream, you can actually see these fucking terrorists right here. There were cops that were like pushing back they were pushing back leftist protesters and allowing the fucking Proud Boys to move because they were trying to go and like overtake fucking Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC today. So like the cops are fucking fascists too.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know, like we're in for some shit right now. Like, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but uh, it's not looking pretty.
I 100% agree. My my main I know like a lot of people like do some fear mongering around this. I think that we're in a very different position than like the Weimar Republic was, for example,
Sure.
but there is a lot of dangerous overlap. So one of the things that like uh, like I studied history. I have that expertise, I guess. Um, and one of the things that like doomed the Weimar Republic was the infighting among the left, and uh like the socialists, the communists, and like the liberals couldn't agree, and that left a power gap open for the fascists. And
Mhm.
I want to do everything in my power to avoid that happening here. So like my political affiliation is like uh libertarian socialist. Like I'm extremely lefty, but I advocate for market socialism because I think it's what we can actually achieve as like a next step towards whatever else we do after that. Um,
Yeah.
and I really want to tangibly improve the conditions of America because right now people are fucking dying.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, these are things that we do need to focus on. I do think that like trying to sell people on like worker co-ops and things like that is probably a an easier argument, and it would be an easier transition than probably a lot of other things as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I you know what I'm actually concerned about is that uh just because of the fact that the left is so kind of I don't know if I want to say disorganized, but we're so um, kind of spread out all over the place, if that makes sense. Um, I don't mean geographically. I just mean that like everybody's kind of doing their own thing. You know, there's not like uh, no overarching kind of sentiment to the left. There's just a bunch of different groups. You know what I mean? Um, is that if like Joe Biden, his administration isn't going to cut it, you know,
Right.
and it's going to make people even more desperate, and that it's going to actually open the door for somebody like Trump or even fucking Trump himself to actually run again in 2024. You know, um, and it sounds funny to think about, but like if
It's
nothing else, like I don't
horrifying.
know, sure, I'm not sure what Trump's game is anyways at this point, right? Like it's a marketing fucking ploy, and it seems to me that there's enough of the Republican Party going along with it that there's a very good chance that the Republican Party is going to continue to be the party of Donald Trump,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I do kind of worry about that, and that if Democrats fail right now, that well, that's going to have significant impacts for the leftist movement in general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I.
Um, because people are like, oh, because like in general, people see like your regular average person is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, Joe Biden, he's on the left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though leftists are like, no, Joe Biden's not on the left. He is though, because to the majority of people out there, Democrats are the left,
Right.
and if he doesn't fucking come through, then it's going to be a serious problem, and it's going to seriously open up the door for fascists to come back in 4 years down the road on the national level, and it could create an even worse situation than we're in right now, as far as for leftist organization and leftist movements. So I feel like it is really important. I know it's kind of a meme right now, but like, and there's no moving Biden to the left ideologically,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to figure out some way to quickly get Democrats to adopt the right positions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Because if we don't, and they're seen as a failure in 4 years, that's going to be a disaster.
I think a couple rays of hope here, right? Like, on the one hand, I agree it would open the door for fascists. I'm
Hmm.
just I would rather, if the fascist that comes into power, I would rather it be Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is a bumbling buffoon. And I think that is easier to deal with than like a smart fascist. But that still doesn't make it better, because fascist. On the other hand, when we're talking about Joe Biden, I think that the majority of Joe's administration is really like a proving ground for Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris, as we've seen in the primary, is like a politician's politician. She adopts policies that help her in the moment, and I think that while that is really really frustrating to people on the left, that's something that I think
Well, that's something you can take advantage of if you can build
exactly,
movement around. Like
exactly.
if they think it's going to advantage them to take on the progressive position on different issues, then yeah. Um, I mean, when it comes down to it, though, like there's so much more wrong with it all than just um, than just that position,
Hmm.
because um, like Nancy Pelosi still being the leader of the Democratic Party, and things like that. Like everything is so like oh God, it's so easy to be blackpilled because there's so much work to do, and I don't understand how we're supposed to do it all in such a short amount of time, short of like actual millions of people taken to the street
Hmm. Well,
and not leaving.
and again, millions of people are going to be out in the street and not unable to leave very shortly. Um,
See, but that's the thing that worries me about that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
oh
cut
no,
you
go
off,
for
but
it.
I'll forget if I don't say this right now. But I'm scared about that too because there's this kind of culture in America, as you already know, about like we don't ever do anything about homelessness, you
Hmm.
know? Like it's usually somebody else's fault if they're poor.
Yeah,
If you're, um So I just worry that a lot of people are going to lose their livelihoods and end up on the street, and basically nobody's going to care.
yeah. I mean,
You
that's
know?
very possible. I just think that like it's going. Part of it is because we can ignore homeless people because they haven't been that big of a like part of our society, right? Like, I think our ability to ignore them is going to be gone if there are 40 million of them out in the street. Like, when we're talking about like over 10% of the country being homeless, like this is something that's going to overwhelm all of the mechanisms that we've put in place to help us ignore these things, like homeless
Is that
shelters.
what we're going to be looking at though? 10%?
I mean, 40 million people is 13% of the country.
Is that how many homeless people are in the country?
No,
How many
that's
homeless
how many
people are
people are on the verge of homelessness when when the CDC protections against being evicted run out in January.
there? Oh,
Um,
I got you.
so uh, right now it's 40 million, and those were numbers that I saw like 2 months ago. So it's probably a lot more now, on top of however many people are already homeless. Um,
Right.
so it I think that there is, to an extent, an in a we I both agree with I agree with you on a bunch of things. We have an inability in the Biden administration to address these things properly, and
Yeah.
also we have this capability to ignore homelessness. But I
Yeah.
think that the absolute dire reality of the situation is something that a lot of people haven't actually contended with, and when it becomes real, that's when people are going to be going, "Oh shit, oh shit," because
Yeah, I think
yeah.
to a certain extent, yeah, you're right. I do think though, like the cynic in me though thinks that what will end up shaking out is uh a bunch of people will become homeless or they'll get like evicted, right? A bunch of people will get evicted. The whole 40 million probably won't. Um, they'll get help from somewhere or someone or something. So it won't be the whole 40 million, but a bunch of people probably will get evicted. But then a bunch of those people will go and like live with other people or family members and not necessarily be considered homeless under what like the definition of homelessness is in the United States.
Hmm.
Um, and then like things just continue on, you know, because if they don't give any relief to anybody, then like everybody's going to end up going back to work. More and more people are going to die of coronavirus, and by the
Hmm.
end of it, before we're able to have your herd immunity, we will have already established herd immunity by killing millions of people,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know. Like
so
that's the cynic in me, and what I think would actually shake out. I would love to think that at some point like people are going to actually be like, oh my god, this is too many homeless people. But I think a lot of it is not visible to a lot of people, to a large portion of people, and therefore like they're not going to really be concerned about it, you know.
yeah, so I think that you could be correct, but I also like the hope pill in me. The hope that I have that springs eternal is basically, I mean, we need to see what happens in January, right? Because like where we are is completely unprecedented in the history of the United States. We've never seen that many people go homeless. We don't know what will happen. And
Well, my guess is that the government isn't going to do anything.
right, I agree.
uh, you know, I mean, the government won't be doing anything regardless until Joe Biden is in, and then even when Joe Biden is inaugurated and in, they're still not going to be doing enough, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen. Joe Biden's not. I haven't heard a single politician besides like people in the squad, I guess, talk about the fact that all these people are going to be fucking evicted. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, so one thing to go with this hope pill, you know what radicalizes a lot of people? Fucking homelessness and like seeing their family
Well,
members
yeah.
starve and having to take in their family members because they fucking lost their home. Like I think that regardless of what happens here, regardless of whether or not we get like a revolution in the streets, we're going to be seeing a massive like sea change in political belief towards the left. Because the left is the only place where they're getting solutions because the right is basically telling them, go fuck yourself. Um, like I
Well,
owe you
I think
nothing.
um,
Go
I would
die in the
hope
gutter.
so. I just think that also like reactionary sentiment is very strong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And in at like at its core, the people that are out there right now, like these Proud Boys, these fucking stupid protests that they're doing out there in DC right now. Um, you know, this is reactionary stuff,
Oh yeah.
and you don't have to necessarily have a solution or a platform for people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
These people are reacting to like people who are out there doing like protesting to the lockdowns, right? Those people are reacting to that, and they're reacting in a way that is like, "Hey, no, you can't lock down because I'm going to lose my livelihood." Instead of, "Hey, we need to lock down because millions of people are going to die, but we need to be taken care of in the process." You know what I mean? So like there's a fundamental disconnect. Um, and so Yeah, like radicalization is a double-edged sword, right?
Hmm.
Because if you don't have the propaganda in place while people are in the process of being radicalized, then you could very easily go down a path to some pretty extreme fucking fascism.
Well,
So
yeah, but like
we're in a scary moment right now, that's for sure.
we are. So like this is why, like, exactly why I started my channel, because like I think that the next 4 years are prime radicalization times for the left. This is when I think our messaging is going to be strongest and most attractive, because it explains to people in a way that the right cannot, or liberals cannot, or neoliberals cannot, um, how they've become fucked and how they can get unfucked. Um,
Right.
and
I think that you're right. Well, I think you're right in the sense that I hope that that will happen,
mhm,
but that is what we need to do right now.
right,
That's the same thing I've been saying is about like, um, we have to use what's happening right now as an opportunity to show that we're right,
yeah,
and to win people over. But it's a lot of work though, still.
true,
Uh,
true.
that's why I'm like, yeah, fucking A, we need more streamers, more lefty content creators, YouTube content creators, fucking podcasters, whatever we can do, more media
Mm-hmm,
uh, produced by lefties.
yeah.
Um, that would be good. That's definitely, I think, a worthwhile goal to pursue.
Well,
Uh,
and
it's definitely one I'm able to pursue right now. So
right. So like, yeah, on top of this, we need the messaging, and then I think we need, on top of the messaging, at least part of that messaging needs to be that we need the people who are watching us to get involved in their local politics or run for their state politics, to like run at all levels, because we need to blitz the fuck out of our establishment opposition. Um,
yeah, I'm not sure if anybody with a huge platform is leveraging it yet to action.
mhm.
But if my like that's basically what I plan to do if my platform ever grows.
Yeah,
I have a history as a community organizer. I worked for Greenpeace for a long time.
that's
I
fucking
used to
red.
teach people how to do canvassing and fundraising and stuff like that. And I did the same thing for the United Nations Refugee Agency. And then I did protest organizing here in Los Angeles for like almost 4 years now. So
That's awesome.
I haven't really done anything for about a year though. Um, but like at some point, yeah, I would like to have a platform where not only do we have fun and it's an entertainment medium, but like we can use that to build communities of people who will like phone bank for leftist candidates. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I don't know if anybody does that. That would be great if they do, though.
I think I've seen Vosh like advocate for phone banking and like canvassing stuff, but
Right.
I haven't
I mean,
seen a
talking about it is one thing, but then like setting up an actual
right.
like a phone banking type of program, you could set it up like so you could like set something up online where people could log right in online,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, and then they can phone bank for candidates, and you could even train people on how to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
so
I think it would be good.
like both doing that for
Like,
campaigns, but also getting people to run. Like that's one of the big killers, right? Like we need lefties to actually run. So many local elections go uncontested.
yeah.
Completely
Well,
uncontested.
and that's a tough one too, right? Because like running for office is another thing. So like if we're gonna organize around that and getting people to run, then I think a big thing to do would be like if you have a big social media platform, utilize that for fundraising for those candidates, and getting people to actually because like I think we could find enough lefties that would be that would run. The problem is that it's really hard to win. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Especially in a lot of places. And so one way that I think social media, people who have like large followings, if they're going to be political, that we could be useful, would be to mobilize those forces to actually fucking create change in the real world by getting real leftists elected. You know,
Hmm.
if we're talking about, you know, I like electorally the only way I think you like you can't fucking push the Democratic Party left, but you know you could get enough people in it that it could change the makeup of the party. You know,
Exactly. Like that's what I advocate for, because I have no illusions about getting through to um, a lot of liberal politicians. Um,
yeah, and
I
all of
think
this
I think
stuff.
if they were able to fix the problem, they would have fixed it already.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like they're easy, but yo, what up, Four Down? How you doing, buddy? With the sub for 8 months in a row. Thank you
Hell
for all the
yeah,
support, dude. Sorry.
it's all good.
uh Yeah, I think that we're coming back in the propaganda game. I just, it's interesting to me to think about the fact that like we talk about a lot and there's a lot of things going on and we discuss how to organize around it, but even on the left we're a little bit reactionary as well too because like anything can fucking happen.
Hmm.
Like another major catastrophe could be right on the fucking horizon, you know? And it really is hard to keep up with everything. I think we were kind of starting to talk about this a little bit when everybody else was here, and how it's like so inundating with all of the different things that fucking happen with us all the time, that it becomes hard to be focused on a specific goal or platform. You know,
Hmm.
uh, yeah. So this is why I'm like, we need a new fucking communist manifesto. Like we really do. We need a new set of ideals for everybody to latch onto that's simple, that will benefit people directly in their lives, uh, and see where it can take us, build a movement around it.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know. I try and simplify all of this so much for my viewers. Like fundamentally, all Marx really wanted was for workers to collectively own their business that they work at, like and have a say in how it's run, what their conditions are, etc. He wanted workplace democracy. So I don't know. That doesn't, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound like scary. I think to most people, it's like, oh, I like democracy. You know, I yes, I would like it if my boss wasn't able to tell me go lick that shit covered doorknob. I would like that. Yes, I would like it if he
Yeah,
couldn't do that.
yeah, you're right. I do think that that's useful. We could possibly do that. Legislatively, I wonder what the obstacles though would be. Like how do you get a company like to turn into a worker co-op? You know what I'm saying? Like either way that it comes down to it,
Mhm.
like it makes me come. I always come back around to like, oh fuck, this sucks. We don't have unions. Because like how do you get a company to do anything when, like,
Right.
as we were just talking about earlier, like a lot of unions aren't even allowed to strike, which I don't know what the fuck that even means, like not allowed to strike. The whole point is that they want you to be at fucking work and you tell them fuck you, I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean I'm not allowed?
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, yes, you're not allowed to just not go to your fucking job, but this isn't a normal circumstance. I'm pissed off, and this is the only leverage that I have.
Yeah.
You know,
So
this is
like just to answer real quick, like I've actually run this by like a number of my libertarian friends, like conservative libertarian friends. Um,
uh-huh.
and the way that I've found the best so far to package the idea of like transitioning from like private business to worker co-ops is
Hmm.
largely through a combination of postal banking, right? So you have postal
Yeah,
banking, you have then the ability to anywhere in the country very easily have a loan program that is specific to worker co-ops to help worker co-ops get the capital to actually start, because that tends to be the big like barrier for worker co-ops. Like this is
yeah,
why like a lot of farmers find it far easier to form a worker co-op. It's because they already have the capital to like run a farm. um, Retail workers, for example, don't tend to have the capital to start up a business. And private banks tend to not like have any way of distributing like a bank loan like to a worker co-op that's like democratic. Um, so you have a federal program to give out loans to these startups, and then for the opposite side, for the companies that are large, whenever they need a bailout, the bailout is contingent on them transitioning to become a worker co-op, like a democratic one.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that makes sense to a lot of people because, hey, if you were successful in running your business, you wouldn't need a bailout, right? And it makes sense for the government to bail you out because you know what a private business does that a worker co-op doesn't vote to do. Private businesses move their factories overseas. They move their jobs out of the local area. Workers don't vote for that shit. Workers don't vote for their CEO to make 400,000 times what the average worker makes. You know, workers don't vote to work in conditions where like the warehouses they're in overheat and kill them, and they need to piss in bottles. Um,
Yeah.
so like there are all
That's the
these
thing though too
benefits.
that gets yeah, that's the thing that gets me too though, right? Because like as you were saying before about how like we need more people to run for office.
Hmm.
True. Uh but then like also we would like realistically we would also need new businesses. Like it wouldn't just be to where like okay, if, yeah, if we could have a federal program, right,
Hmm.
to put out money to for people to start worker co-ops. Um yeah, you would probably have more worker co-ops come up for sure. Uh but like just to think about like what that entails, like it entails a complete fundamental um restructuring of society
Hmm.
as it is right now. So like it seems like it's a really long way off, but I do feel like it's a good way to sell people on becoming a lefty by,
Yeah,
advocating for democratizing the workforce, because nobody likes tyranny.
yeah.
And what is a boss besides a tyrant? You
E-
know what I mean? Uh,
exactly. And like, I, I get that there would be problems in doing this. Like, I I usually don't go into like the whole postal banking because I recognize that that's like a big hurdle to overcome.
yeah,
But I think you can have federal loan programs even without postal banking. Um, like one of the big things is like right now we give all kinds of subsidies to private corporations that don't need them. So what if we instead sent money to actual organizations that would benefit the local community? Um,
right,
and like on top of that, like it would be a longer process towards getting like worker co-ops to be the majority, but I think if you have also the larger shifts for like a Boeing or like a Ford, like I think all of these companies, if they had when they had gotten bailed out had become democratic worker co-ops, I think that that would have so many knock-on effects to improve society that like people would be like, oh, yeah, these are actually good. These are actually good ideas. Like you can operate a worker co-op at cost, and it's not a big deal. Like, oh,
right.
your workers are happier and they get paid more, and hell yeah, I want to work at a worker co-op. Like I make far more money. I have a stake in the company. Like
Yeah, yeah, no, it is. I do think it's a good selling point,
yeah, like when
and
people
it would make for a better society.
yeah.
You know what I wonder too, because I've heard this, and I believe also that like I'm a an anarcho-communist, and I do think that a good way to transition into that type of a society might be or actually, you know what? I don't know if it's accurate to say if it's like maybe that would be a good way to transition into an anarcho-communist type of society. Um, but like it's maybe more accurate to say like it would be a good way to get people more into leftist politics. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
By advocating for that. I question though, like I guess yeah, if workers all owned the like it does become complicated because like not every business would have to be ran that way.
Right. I just think
Because it
that
wouldn't make sense for small businesses to be ran as worker co-ops in a lot of instances. And then what happens, in that case?
I actually think
Like,
it
do we still
tends
have,
to
do
make.
you still have that capitalist element to it, or is it different somehow? Like, how does that work?
I mean, it actually tends to be that worker co-ops right now tend to be smaller. Um,
Hmm.
we also have large worker co-ops, but most worker co-ops tend to be relatively small. Like, I don't know. Are
Yeah, the
you?
only big one anyone knows of is Monsanto, or not Monsanto, fucking the Spanish company. Are they from
Yeah,
Spain or
Mondragon, and then there's
Mondragon? That's the one. I wanted to call him Monsanto for some reason.
Ocean Spray is also a worker co-op of sorts. But like,
Yeah, there's a grocery store out here, a grocery
oh
chain,
yeah, like Quip,
grocery store chain
Quick,
as well.
Quicks or something like that. I don't.
I don't know enough about any of those businesses though to be able to look at them and be like, okay, this works,
Yeah. So I actually have a
I think
bunch
it would
of
still
like,
be a process, right? Like,
yeah,
wouldn't it still be a process? Like, once they start setting it up, people are going to learn different things and what works and what doesn't.
right.
So just like with any system, it's a process to build it and to grow it and to make it work as best as it can.
Well,
Yeah, Winco Foods. That's it. Intervene. Winco Foods
okay.
and Publix. Yeah.
Well, and like one of the
Co-ops.
big things is that um, because there has been so little investment in actually like forming worker co-ops, like democratic ones, because again, the barrier to capital that you need in order to start them up is significantly higher. Um, so as we have more worker co-ops, we'll know more and more about how better ways to actually implement them, better
That's true.
marketing
I think
strategies.
that is true. I think maybe the conversation to have though, like at this point, would be like, how do we make it to where it's easier for people to start worker co-ops, right? Like,
Exactly.
if we wanted like rubber meets the road, talk about like, well, how do we make something like this happen? Well, how do we make it easier for people to start worker co-ops? How would we encourage people to do it?
Well,
Obviously, like a federal program where the government subsidizes it would be awesome,
mhm.
but like we can't even get them to stop subsidizing fucking oil. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Well,
like,
I mean, I think that
I
you
mean,
can make.
how would we get like? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut
Oh
you off,
no,
but
go
like,
for it.
how can we get regular people who are like, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I want to start my own business?
Hmm.
How do we get that person to consider right now in this day and age, right? Like, how do we get them to consider starting a workers co-op? I think there's probably ways that we could organize around that, like
Hmm.
crowdsourcing and like crowdfunding is one way I think that you can do it. And I know like Kickstarter is out there and there's places like that that help people start businesses. I don't know if there's like a Kickstarter for worker co-ops, but that would be kind of fucking based, right?
Well, so like part of this is
The
that
problem is they can't get funding.
yeah, they can't get funding. That's like the fundamental issue, and it's not so much that people like workers don't want to start worker co-ops. It's that in order to start a worker co-op right now, the structure of getting a loan to start a company like that is that one person would have to take on all of the risk of the business loan, and most of the workers who would want to come together to like start a worker co-op individually don't have like the credit that they need in order to take out a loan that big. Um,
Right. So wouldn't like a Kickstarter for co-ops actually though be better
it
than even that? Because Kickstarter isn't a loan, is it? The Kickstarter is you just raise the money and then you have it and there you go, there's your fucking business. So there's not like there's not even a liability anywhere. You need the money to start a co-op, you put your idea on and people fund it and then you start your co-op. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Kind of thing.
I mean, part of it is
Uh
that the Kickstarter takes like a 30% cut. Like they take a big cut of it. The most successful
Right. No,
Kickstarters need
that's what I'm
marketing
saying. Fuck
campaigns.
Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like fuck Kickstarter. I'm saying like we need a different platform that's
gotcha.
specifically made for helping worker co-ops get started. Like maybe not just with funding, but also like actually get started and implement it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
so there are organizations that help people start up democratic worker co-ops. The issue is like the amount of like resources they have available is not sufficient to like help everyone start a worker co-op.
Right,
which is
exactly.
which
No,
is why we would
obviously
need
not.
like a systemic like assistance program to like get it started. Like if we wanted this to be like an actual like systematic shift, which is what I want, to worker co-ops, we would absolutely need this
You
like
would
a
probably
federal
have to
program.
subsidize them like they do big oil. At the probably at the same scale, maybe even larger to make it like revolutionary, you know
I
what I mean,
mean,
where it like actually changes things. I would actually
possibly.
be in favor I would be in favor of like once a like if your business is above a certain level of like I don't know, fucking GDP or something. So these corporations are so massive
Yeah.
that like in law they have to become a fucking worker co-op, dude, and just fucking completely expropriate the motherfuckers and give it to the workers. Like, let's
Yeah.
be real about it. That's what we're actually fucking talking about. And at this point, I would totally support that.
Well, so
uh
like part of it
I gotta
is
pee really bad
okay.
though. Do you mind if I walk away for a second?
Go
I can
for it.
actually hear you, and the chat can hear you too.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep
I'll be
talking
right
then.
back.
Um, so essentially, this is why we need like a program that would slowly transition us over time, and part of it is I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but part of it is that we need this program to give us stability, to give you a way to transition, because a lot of these small businesses actually do want to like come into being. And a lot of the information that we have on worker co-ops is actually that they're more efficient. They outperform traditional private businesses. And this is largely attributed to two factors, and it's because worker co-ops, if they're democratic, tend to have workers that are getting more equitably paid for their labor, and because workers have more of a say in their working conditions. And so these are things that I think we really need to hammer home when it comes to these businesses, because they can operate at cost instead of like needing to get a profit in order to like appease investors or whatever. Larger worker co-ops actually have an advantage over traditional firms as well. So there's this to an extent, there are a lot of really good arguments to make that that the government should be subsidizing worker co-ops to a greater extent than private businesses, because worker co-ops actually stay in the United States and they don't have the incentive that private corporations do to hide their taxes. Um, it's a lot harder
Yeah,
to democratically get everyone on board with hiding your taxes.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's actually like that's low key a good way to get the like because like people like Tucker Carlson and shit like that are always you know like the populist right are
mhm.
always trying to complain about like big corporations shipping jobs overseas. So that's like a low key way to almost kind of bread pill you know right wingers over to the left if you could get them behind you know to get them behind a worker co-op you know kind of a system
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and uh, uh I think yeah, it would be good to move towards something like that, and that's probably a good way to go about doing it.
Mhm.
Brass tacks, rubber on the road. I don't know how we fucking, you
Ooh,
know, I don't even know where to begin, honestly.
one of the people in my chat has a pretty good idea. Prove this advantage, make it a fund. Renaissance Technology did it with math-based investing. So like, yeah, like worker co-ops do on average outperform private businesses by about 9 to 14%. So, and they have a higher survival rate. So why not have like like the funds that like the interest from these government loans going into a fund that goes on to support other kind of like that Kickstarter idea, go into a
Mhm.
fund to support other worker co-ops, and eventually if that gets big enough, I feel like um, then it's just self-sustaining.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think though, like, I just wonder if that's the only way to do it. Like,
Oh, probably
my
not.
only issue with it, my only issue with it is that like, I just don't know. Again, I always have to come back to this that we're like we don't have any time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we don't have time to be doing slow progress, but it seems that like slow progress is the only thing that we can do. But like I do think that we have to like, and this is why I was talking about like a Kickstarter specifically for co-ops, you know, because I think you could start something up like that and get way more progress done than you could trying to do it through the levers of our own fucking government that we have right now, you know? I mean, getting the government to heavily subsidize worker co-ops is a fantastic idea.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is that like Jesus fucking Christ, we can't even get them to give people a $1,200 check in
Yeah.
a fucking pandemic, you know? Like so I just feel like we need something that is going to spark an immediate fucking action, and I don't know how we do it, you know. And
I
that's
I
what like
mean,
that's why it's so easy for me to be like black pilled and stuff because it's uh, like uh, yeah, I don't
I
know. It's not utopian to think of. People will say
right.
that, like right wingers will say, "Oh, it's utopian," but like to me, the most outlandish thing about it is trying to get it done through the current levers and mechanisms of electoral politics that we
Yeah.
have available to
I
us. You
I
know,
I mean, I think to an extent both methods are outlandish. You know, like, uh, but I'm not opposed to like a worker co-op Kickstarter like thing. I just think that if we want to affect a systemic change, it has to be a systemic solution. You know. Um,
yeah.
so
No, you're right about that.
um,
Absolutely, 100%.
so like I guess where I'm at here is that I I agree with you that our electoral system is absolutely fucked, but I see a path forward, I guess, with like, you know, we need to overcome the challenges of climate change. We need to do these things. I think that if we were able to tie that in, like the Green New Deal in with worker co-ops, I think that that would be a really great way of, you know, getting this off the ground. I think that any capitalist worth their salt, anyone who's like advocating like we need to bring manufacturing back to the United States, like yeah, they should be arguing for the Green New Deal too, because you know it's great for business being able to export the solution to a like centuries long recovery process from climate change. Like what
Yeah, no, you're
what better
right.
business
I
could you ask for?
uh, um, here's a hot take. I would actually fucking throw away the Green New Deal.
Oh really?
Yeah, I agree with everything inside of it. I just like my thing is that, and I know I keep harping on this, but I feel like we need something that is more directly related to what's happening right now in this immediate moment,
Mm-hmm.
and that it needs to be simple and relatable. And the only problem I had with the Green New Deal is that they put all that stuff in it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Um, and it gave the right a way to like just obfuscate it, its meaning and everything else. And you know, so like to me, it should be a smaller list of demands that are directly related to the issue that is at hand, which is like you keep talking about, you know, millions of people facing eviction right now. We've got
Mm-hmm.
fucking food lines that are going on for fucking a mile down the road. You know, people are hungry, people are homeless. More and more people are becoming that way, and on top of that, hundreds of thousands of people are dying from a deadly pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like, to me, I feel like right now, if I could, I would throw away the Green New Deal, and the entire Democratic Party would back a proposal to do universal basic income, uh, universal health care. I don't give a fuck what you call it, Medicare for my fucking anus. I don't care. You know,
Massive
universal health
hemorrhoids
care.
down there.
Yeah. Uh, um, and no bailouts for big corporations, bailouts for small businesses and regular people,
Mm-hmm.
and big corporations can sink or swim by their own ideology, fucking pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And most of the big corporations are going to swim and they're going to fucking finance this whole thing, you know? But like even those last few parts that I'm talking about could be completely thrown out of what I just said. We need emergency UBI. We need emergency healthcare. We need to use emergency powers to make sure that not just healthcare workers, but anybody who's considered an essential worker to have all the same type of caliber and quantity of personal protective equipment as doctors, as at least what doctors should have. Because then, if any of you guys have spoken with Doc Midnight, you know that doctors and nurses and like medical workers don't even have enough proper PPE. But it shouldn't just be doctors who get it. It should be everybody who's considered a frontline worker, and they should also get hazard pay. So like, there's a few simple things, right? UBI, healthcare for everybody, hazard pay for essential workers, and
Hmm.
PPE for essential workers. Something that is just so small and so targeted to what the specific issue is at hand. Um, Keeping small businesses open, bailouts for small businesses and people. Like that's a small list of things that I feel like yeah, right now I would throw away the entire Green New Deal and do that. Because
See,
if you could get people behind something like that, then you can start doing, like, I mean, let's be real, the Green New Deal, they had like Medicare for all was in the Green New Deal,
mhm.
right? So like some of that would already, you'd already be getting taken care of. We don't have to roll out our entire platform all at once. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, like and this is why I feel like the only reason why right wing propaganda can be so effective is because it is simple. They're not asking for a lot. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And in fact, it's mostly fear based, right? They're like, they're going to take your guns, immigrants are going to take your jobs, abortion is a big one, and that's it. And they just have a few issues that rallies up their whole fucking base, and it's all based on fear. But we need the same thing based on positivity and uh what people need in this moment right now,
Hmm.
you know.
So
um
it's a complicated issue because I don't necessarily see the Green New Deal as something that is preventing us from achieving all of those things either, right? Like I
no,
get I get
it's
I
not.
get what you mean though.
It could still be there and we could do what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm just saying, like, fuck the Green New Deal at this point just because it has so much shit in it, you know.
true, but
Like, all stuff that I agree with, but
but I also think that like it offers us a path forward. You know what 40 million homeless people need? Good paying jobs. You know where you can get some
yeah,
good paying jobs for 40 million plus people? Fucking the Green
yeah.
New Deal. Like
Green
a,
energy,
a lot of
yeah.
a lot of
But
these
see,
things like
so
build on
so
each
that's the
other.
thing though too. Yeah, like that's the thing though too. Like I guess what I'm talking about is like if we want to create a spark, right?
Mhm.
And really push us fast to the left, which is what we need right now. Let's be fucking real. Like I always try to be realistic about this in the sense that we are out of time, you know. We do need something that everybody could get behind. Even what Cheshire Cat was talking about
Mhm.
with like appealing to right wingers. Like even though we had a conversation about people running as Republicans and shit, like at the heart of that is that like Democrats aren't appealing to Republican voters, because not because of them being Democrats, but because they're not offering solutions that will benefit them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because the mainstream Democratic Party isn't offering those things. You know,
Right.
they're offering more of what is we've gotten under like Obama and Democratic administrations of recent history. So um, yeah, that's why I feel like we need something that is specifically targeted to the issue at hand right now, which it's true. People are hungry, they need money, they need support. Small businesses are going out of business, and only big corporations are being able to succeed in
Mhm.
this type of economy that we have with coronavirus. And so what we need to fucking do is bail out small businesses and bail out the people, and big corporations can fucking sink or swim and help pay for it, you know.
Yeah, I don't
um
disagree.
yeah. And I feel like you know how we talk about like market socialism in
Mhm.
the context of being a transition into an even more like an anarcho-communist or whatever your leftist
Yeah.
tendency is. Um, we need a transition to get to where we could even set up a market socialist type of a system,
Oh,
if
for
that's
sure.
if that's what your goal is.
I mean, I
So
I
that's
I,
why I'm
I
like,
think
yeah,
I
I'm
think we're
really
in that
like,
transition.
right. Well, and that's why I'm hyper focused on like what we should be demanding. We do need something to rally everyone behind.
Hmm.
Uh, it's really hard this day and age though, because I feel like every leftist just wants to be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like internet culture is not necessarily about like coming to good conclusions, but often it's about like one upping each other type shit as well,
It's all the debate
which
bro shit.
sucks. Yeah, yeah. This is why I actually don't like debating like even centrists, but especially not conservatives. Uh, I'm on the opposite end of that. I don't like that. I would rather discuss with leftists who like are wanting to create solutions. It just
Hmm.
seems more productive to me.
Yeah. I mean, like
Yeah,
I think both approaches have their ups and downs. Like you get a lot of attention for debates, um,
sure.
and not as much attention for discussions. So I think it needs to be kind of like evened out, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right about that. It does have to be evened out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we can do. We're all probably right to an extent, so we just have to continue, I guess, doing what we are doing. We definitely have to do more, though. I'm just
For
like,
sure.
I have so much fucking anxiety, you know, and I know that a lot of other people do as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just really worried that we're at a point right now where it's going to come to a head. Um, and because like we don't have we haven't organized for it or anything like that, like it's really hard to say what the future is gonna look like. And in a sense, we're gonna also have to be a little bit reactionary depending on what happens in the future. You know,
Hmm.
it's hard not to think about that while you're watching fascists march through Washington D.C. because their God King Trump isn't going to be installed dictator for life on January 20th.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think as we're kind of barreling towards the precipice of like the homelessness crisis and stuff like that, I always think about like the revolutions that overthrew feudalism, you know, um,
yeah.
and those weren't planned. You know, the French Revolution, not planned. They stormed the Bastille. They were fed up with it. You know. Um, and a lot of that just kind of went in very different directions until it kind of shook out how it shook out, you know. I think that the idea that we have a plan for any of this that is going to work, I think eh, at best it's wishful thinking, right? Like I like no one was sitting there being like, okay, the French Revolution, we're gonna start it, you know, it's gonna be on this day, we're gonna call it Bastille Day, and it's gonna be one of the, you know, it's gonna be a holiday forever. And like uh no, it didn't happen like that. And I think that we need to get into a mindset of where we're ready to like fight to the mat for socialism and lefty policies and communism um, in electoral politics. And we need to be able to be ready to do that in electoral politics so that when there is kind of this flare up in like a revolutionary flare up, we have that baseline. You know, part of it is like, you know, the mutual aid, the outside of like the outside action outside of like the you know, electoral politics sphere. Another part of it is having that electoral politics base. And then another part of it is like the people who are willing to do the revolutionary stuff. Um, it's a combination of all of them. It's not just one thing. I just advocate that like it'd be a whole lot better if we succeeded electorally. A whole lot less people would have to suffer. You know,
um
that's my position
Yeah,
anyway.
no, no, that's right. You're right. Like I said, the only thing is that like I think I don't know, our politics are so fucking toxic and corrupt right now, that it's just hard to place any faith in that. You know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
my only issue with it. And
Oh
I do
yeah.
agree with you. I hope that we can do it like electorally. Uh, I'm just not so sure. Like, I worry a lot about what's going to happen with all this political violence shit. You know, mixed at the same time with uh, everything else at the same time. I really feel like we're going to have political violence. We're not going to
Oh
have a
yeah.
civil war in this country. I like I'm not like I don't think a civil war is going to happen, but there's going to be attacks and there's going to be people that are fucking ramping up white supremacist groups ramping up hate attacks and different things like that. We already saw it when Trump when Trump got elected, hate crimes went up,
Yep.
right? And now that he's losing, uh, what are they going to fucking do, right? And they're out there specifically to create violence, and it's really unfortunate that that it's becoming more mainstream that people are like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a civil war. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are these people even fucking thinking? Uh, when it comes to that, and like in that regards, like that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how the fuck we're supposed to do any of this in the amount of time we need to. I'm so worried because millions of people are gonna die from fucking coronavirus, and like we're still fighting about all sorts of other shit.
Yeah, I mean, the Republicans just genuinely don't care that millions of people could die. I mean, you have Dennis Prager going on like, yeah, you should kill your family for Thanksgiving. Like that's fine. That's your
Yeah.
human right. Live fully. You have
Well,
you have other people on the right who are just like, yeah, I mean, people are gonna die. It's too late now, so why bother doing anything anyway? Like, and
yeah.
the
Well,
no,
and the Democrats don't seem to really be fucking doing anything either, though.
yeah,
That's the biggest problem. This is why like people don't even fucking vote and shit and feel like it's pointless
exactly.
because nobody fucking helps them. And that's why I'm like, I don't know what the solution is here, but like I feel like the only way that we could force the government to fucking do what's needed is like it's gonna take millions of people on the street, dude.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
really think that it's going to take a mass movement of people. Bernie Sanders talked about it on his stump speech, literally every stump speech. He even called himself at one point during the campaign. He said that he would become the organizer in chief,
hmm
that he would rally people to go to Kentucky where Mitch McConnell is and have a massive fucking rally to to force them to do the right thing, to force them to enact the will of the people,
yeah,
right? That's what Bernie was talking about, and I don't think that we're gonna get anything done electorally unless we do that, and that's why like in my mind, when I think about organizing for electoral politics, yeah, we could organize to get people elected and stuff, and try to encourage leftists to run for office, and then support them and try to get them elected. Or we can fucking mobilize millions of people to, I don't know, go on strike, fucking have a sit in at the White House for a fucking month or 2 months or 3 months or however fucking long it takes,
yeah.
and be willing to be tear gassed and everything else even under a Joe Biden administration.
Yeah,
I like
I mean,
outside of a movement like that, I don't think we're going to be able to get the government to do anything, regardless of who's in office, because of the way that our government is set up. There's no way. Just look at throughout the history of America,
hmm
every single movement that has happened, right? The civil rights movement, the gay rights movement, women's suffrage, and voting rights, um, literally every fucking worker and labor rights. People were literally shot and killed protesting and rioting
hmm
um, during the labor movement, so that we could have shit like 8-hour work days and paid time off,
we don't
various
even have those
benefits that
anymore.
yeah, we don't even have that shit anymore. But various benefits that benefited working class people, that a lot of times we take for granted and or don't even have access to anymore.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I guess like I'm in this position of like
it's always
both
come though from a
both
movement like
both
that.
both of these things are long shots, right? Like both both the electoral approach and the mass organizing approach, because like we had the longest sustained protest movement in U.S. history for justice for Breonna Taylor, and we barely got anything out of that. Um, and so I'm not sure at this point what it can take except the psyche of America to snap. And I think that snap might be something like the mass homelessness that's coming, might be something like the mass starvation that
Well, I think the
is really
collective
already here.
psyche of I think the collective psyche of America has already snapped.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that means it's going to lead to anything good happening, though. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
Like,
usually it means something bad is going to happen.
yeah. Like, I mean, look, the thing is, like, yeah, obviously we should help people get into office and everything. But in my opinion, just the fact that like those protests have been going on this year, like, how long did the fucking civil rights movement last? That lasted multiple years,
Hmm.
right? Um, and they may not have had as big of protests, which we may not have as big a protests either, but and they've gotten smaller, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be more triggers, like again, a lot of people going homeless and being evicted from their homes. That's going to make the protests even bigger again.
Hmm.
And like, especially if we can have like an intersection of different movements come together, uh, that would be especially beneficial to the left, where like you have the Black Lives Matter movement, and then you have another movement form up around people being evicted from their homes and shit, right?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of crossover there,
Yep.
right? That's definitely an issue that Black Lives Matter, I'm sure, is definitely concerned about. But it would also get a lot of people involved that may not necessarily join in on a Black Lives Matter protest, just because, like, not that they are racist, but they just wouldn't go out to a Black Lives Matter protest because of, you know, all of the fucking uh bullshit that you see in the news about violence and Antifa, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, but if you can get like, and that's always been the goal, right? Like working class solidarity across racial lines. Like if we can have that, then we can do a lot.
Yeah,
And
I mean, any movement to address this needs to be intersectional, like at its heart. Like we need to be
yeah,
able to
yeah,
weave these different movements together. I think you're absolutely right about that.
yeah. Well, it'll be intersectional no matter what, because like the issues that affect us all, are intersectional. The issues are intersectional, and the trick is for some people is to get them to realize that like those same issues that they feel are even worse for like people of color,
Hmm.
and people that aren't as advantaged to be like straight and white and male, kind of thing.
True.
Uh, I do think it's important though. We do have to have politicians that have the spine to do what's right. But I think the best way is to get enough people to force them to, to do it. I'm actually a firm believer. That was the one thing that I liked the most about Bernie Sanders, and that I always felt was the most lefty thing about him, was that he was about building a movement. He even called it a political revolution. He believed that if he got enough people to go out into the streets and support his policies, that he could get Congress to act on them.
Hmm.
And he talked about it a lot, and I think he's right on that. I think he's right about that. You um, in the sense that that's the only way to do it. Because there's such a stalemate in Congress right now. It's like, how do you get anything fucking accomplished,
Right.
right? Mitch McConnell won't fucking put votes, won't even put bills up to a vote. So anything that comes out of the House doesn't even fucking matter. They could pass fucking communism in the House, and it wouldn't matter. And
Right.
in a way, I feel like some of the things that the Democrats have done while Trump has been in office, I don't even know if they really were like, yeah, let's totally do this, or they're just like, let's just throw all these bills there because we know Mitch McConnell is gonna fucking kill him anyways.
Right.
Uh, like, I don't know how we're supposed to get any legislation passed,
I
unless people are out there on the streets like, hey, everything's shut down until you do this.
well, and
Other
I mean,
countries do it all the fucking time.
Well,
by the way.
it's that, and also like again, we have 2 years. We have 2 years to organize. We have 2 years to build up, uh, like a coalition that can uh, turn the tide of power, so that Mitch McConnell no longer has this death choke on the Senate. Um, we need to be able to turn the tides, and I think the best way to do that is with socialists who are running on platforms of like, hey, we're going to tangibly improve your lives. I think it keeps coming down to that for me, really. That's the message that people need right now, and it's the message that they've needed for a very, very long time.
Yeah. I still think actually I had a good idea with the fucking with the goddamn Kickstarter for for co-ops thing. I think we should do that actually. I wonder how we could start that. I'm a web developer. I could build a
Ooh,
website.
there's an idea.
Yeah. It would probably be easy or a lot easier anyways. It'd be a good campaign strategy to be like already actually helping people, right?
For sure.
Like if lefties were already like substantially helping certain people, like if wherever they can,
Hmm.
that might help, you know. Like, it couldn't look bad for us.
Right.
Right?
I wouldn't be opposed.
There's a lot to be said for like mutual aid and stuff like that too, in that regard.
All right.
Lord knows we need it right now, right? Because like what you're talking about with homelessness and the eviction crisis coming up and everything, mutual aid networks, man, I wish they were stronger right now.
Yeah.
That would be useful because we're going to need it and it's going to be really important uh, right now. So it
Okay.
worries me. It
I
worries me a lot.
on that note, I need to go because I need to go eat. I haven't eaten anything today. Um,
Yeah, I
but
ate
it's
a
been
couple
really
slices
lovely
of
talking with
pizza.
you.
Yeah, definitely. We should do it again sometime. Usually on the weekend, Doc Midnight is here, so hopefully we can do the panel again with Doc Midnight
Yeah, that'd be great.
one of these days. I hope he's okay.
We'll do a redo.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Did you want to shout yourself out again to my
Oh,
chat?
yeah. Hello everybody. My name is Riverboat Jack. I'm a lefty, socialist streamer over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Riverboat Jack. Check me out if you have some time. Hit that follow button. I worked as like a video game journalist for like a decade, and then I've done a whole lot of other stuff, done some consulting on things and whatever. And yeah, come check me out because I talk about socialism and politics and all that good stuff Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Central Time until whenever the fuck I feel like. Um,
Nice.
yeah. What about you? Can you
Awesome.
shout yourself out for my
Yeah,
peeps?
sure. I'm Drrtbag. I'm a Drrtbag lefty anarcho-communist streamer who like I get on Twitch every day and mostly just it's a big fuck around fest. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. Like uh we have a lot of fun and we just talk a lot of shit. We go over current events and news and stuff and talk politics also. But yeah, that's what we do. And we do a podcast every Saturday, which wow, went really long today. We're
Yeah,
hitting
no
like
kidding.
7 hours that I've been streaming. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have Doc Midnight on every Saturday and do our podcast. And we're really focused on getting relief to people during coronavirus and somehow forcing the federal government to do it. But in general, yeah, we hang out and have a good time. So twitch.tv/Drrtbag. It's 2 R's with and no I. Drrtbag.
All right. Well, you take it easy. Don't let your brain rot from the politics and the brain worms. And
Oh, it's
we'll
too late.
we'll do this again real soon. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Uh, you have a good one, okay?
Yeah, you too.
Whew. All right. That was a long one. Let's get the camera up. Bloop. Hi, everybody. I hope that this was an enjoyable stream for all of you. It was unexpected. I got invited to it yesterday. Um, I'm still feeling quite under the weather. I've had a migraine this entire time. Um, but yeah, I like again, if you're all new to my channel, please hit that follow button. Appreciate the stream from the raid from Chud for Life. And yeah, I hope that we'll be doing this again on Monday if I'm feeling good. Um, both the panel and afterwards. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. That guy from Deliverance. Um, and yeah. Hopefully, I'll be talking with Cheshire in the near future, and yeah, I I love you all very much. And hey, guess what? We broke 1100 this week officially. We're now at 1103 followers. So you know what? Next week, let's up those numbers by 110. Okay. Well, let's just keep growing. We need to keep up this momentum. Okay. Yeah, I myself am going to crawl in a hole. I'm going to eat a bunch of food and then probably pass out again while watching Stargate SG-1. I hope you are all lovely and having a fantastic evening. And I think we're going to raid Cheshire Cat because I really enjoyed interacting with her on the stream. Um, yeah. Uh, You're all so very nice to me. Thank you so goddamn much, people. Also, several of you subscribed to the Twitch. Thank you so much. Real quick before we go, I'm going to read off the names of people who followed and subscribed during that long conversation. All right. Preaching 565. Thank you so much. Benny Mart, Wide PP, Shivagit, Diabolic Danger, The Smoldering Sheep, the Caplog, Salamander Sweet, Ode ES, thank you so much for following. Alternate Dazzler, the most dazzling of the people who have followed me. Chud Logic, thank you very much for the raid. Barely Bingo, thank you very much. Trout with Clout, 404, Gender Not Found. Hildebeest, Mr. Piece of Work, thank you so much. LRA, thank you very much for the follow. And Epic Hatchet, thank you so goddamn much for that subscription, comrade. Like, you're really helping my content here, you know? Hopefully I have a future doing this, you know? Right now I'm mostly doing it in my spare time. So anyway, let's go have a good raid, okay?